Hi, my friend, it's Pat Sloan here, and it is Happy Wednesday, which is our Sweet Dreams Sew Along. So before, let me just tell you, I've got one of the new SPF 50 hats. It came in the day I taped this, and it was also the day that I went and had the last look at my surgery for removing the cancer cells off of my nose and having all the surgery to rebuild my nose after that event. So I want to tell you about, an update, give you an update right at the end, but I thought I'd wear my new hat to show it to you. This is good sun protection. This one is fitting pretty good. It's a small medium. Now, I have a tiny head, so that's like I'm still pulling this all the way down. I can't adjust it, but maybe it'll stay on my head better. It's like the bigger ones, they just don't work. Okay, yes, and I still have the tag on because I just took it out of the bag. Okay, our block is chocolate chip cookies. Here we go for Sweet Dreams. This week our chocolate chip cookies, and here is our block. Chocolate chip cookies come in a massive array of styles, don't they? You can get crispy ones, you could get soft and chewy ones, big ones, little mini ones. Of course, they have to have chocolate chips, but they could have like butterscotch chips or something like that added in with them. Also, what I find is nuts. Like for me, they have to have nuts, but some people really like them without the nuts, or they like to put certain kind, like maybe they like pecans better than walnuts. Coconut in your chocolate chip cookies, is anybody like that, or is that like I also have, this is the bonus layout for the chocolate chip cookies, which I think is really, really cool. I would love to try that one and just see how it comes out, because it makes sort of a secondary design in a way that looks sort of like butterflies there. All right, I want to show you the colors, how I got to these fabrics. First thing I want to do is look at what the other three blocks have as far as fabrics used, so I get an idea of what I want to use for the fourth block. For the chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so here I have this background fabric in two of them, and then not in this one. This one doesn't have as much light fabrics. Our block for this week, the chocolate chip cookies, has lights here, and this one I had as slightly darker, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I think there'll be no sort of cream in mine. I'm going to go with something a little bit different just to mess around and see how it looks. So I've pulled this out here for us to see. I'm going to go with this gray, and that will be the shoe fly. So this is pretty much a ramped up shoe fly. It has the same characteristics as we're doing for the Secret Lives of Color, and then instead of having a square here like the Secret Lives does, it's 3 strips. So it gives us a way to use a bit more fabric and have a little bit more fun. So if I want to make this shoe fly part gray, I want to go as light as I can. So my fabric line has this very light gray, and then I'm thinking just a little bit different shade, just down a little bit darker, and put that in the center. Now I always find that it's a bit mind-blowing to sort of reverse colors. Our brain wants to put lights. As quilters, our brain wants the kind of white out here, so think of that gray as white. Now I want to take and make a sort of the chocolate, or the sort of dark like licorice color, so we have food oriented stripes. So instead of doing pink stripes or whatever, then the outside, which would kind of be considered like the background, I guess, if you have to use a word for it, the other half of the triangle, I'm thinking pink, and that would pop pink out here. I also looked at doing a light pink. So there is a lighter pink, which might not let this shoe fly work so well. Now also, I don't want, you could just use the same center as here, and it would really look like the shoe fly then. But I'm thinking I'll do a different color. Now that one's a bit too light, so I'm thinking, well, what else do I have in here in my fabrics? I could go with this one, which would be, it's just a little bit darker. So there. So I want to have that definition. I don't want to lose the definition of this. And I pretty much have cream, pink, and grays in this particular fabric collection. There aren't, that's pretty much it. Pink, cream, and gray. So if I want to do pink on the outside, I think I'm going to I think I'm going to go with that one and do this sort of medium pink. Now I could do all of these stripe sections different, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple and they're all going to be the same. And I believe I'm going to go ahead and use this stripe because it's a neat fabric and I haven't used it yet. So that will be one of the strips, which will be, you know, brought down a stripe like this. And then I want to use the dots, stripes, dots, and then probably I'll do all sort of personality with the dots in the middle. So I think I'll do them all the same, just like that. Now for those of you who, when you read a pattern like this and you think, oh, I'm going to make all these the same, I can just do them in one long strip, then you want to cut, see, like one long strip, which then I'll subcut, and I'll show you that today. You could cut this 1.5 by about 15 inches, because how do you get 15 inches? 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus a little bit extra. So 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. So I do 15 inches just because as I subcut, I will be sure my edges are still clean, and sometimes I will do a trim. So I'm going to show you that. First, I will sew all these together so I can subcut them. Here they are sewn together in a strip set. Now I'm going to subcut this into the 3.5 inches that we need for the unit, so there'll be 3.5 inch squares. I highly recommend that you measure this before you start subcutting. I actually measured mine when I put 2 of them to be sure that I was at 2.5 inches, and then when I add the third one, this whole strip should be 3.5 inches wide. Now when I'm doing the scrappy version, which I'm going to also show you at the end, I'm sewing it at the same time, I cut those individually, because these have like so many seams and so much bulk, and they are not 15 inches long. So I just cut them individually to work with. All right, to subcut, here we go. What I first will do will be go to the end. See, pick an end, any end. Okay, go upside down in the camera here. All right, pick an end, and I will just trim that off, and then flip it around so that I can cut my 3.5 inch square. So I've got a 3.5 inch right here, and that's called a subcut. So now this is the unit that will be in this part, in the bottom part of the chocolate chip block. Now if I'm doing a ton of these, I might cut 3 of them, and then after the third one I will go and make a little adjustment cut, just a little strip to be sure that this edge is still straight, because as we're cutting we tend to veer, and all of a sudden you're not cutting straight anymore. So probably about every 3 squares. Now of course I'm only cutting 4 here, but I will check when I get to the 4th one and be sure that I didn't start veering off, you know, and I don't have a clean cut there. Now I'm going to sew the block. Some chocolate chip cookies, anyone? So here we go with the colors all laid out. Now if I had wanted to use the light, the same light in the center, I did cut a square here. Here it is. So I want to show you how that looks. So there's a mock-up, which probably makes this, you know, it's kind of a snowball-y shape, a little bit stronger. And so there you go. You don't see the shoe fly as strongly in this one as you're going to see in the next one, which is the scraps. So I did the shoe fly part in white, and white comes towards you. That's light objects come towards you visually. So that really made a strong statement for it to come forward. And then I used the same dark in the middle, but it's scraps on the outside, scraps on 2 of the 3 parts, and then that, you know, that black sort of makes a you know, sort of an inside square in a way, visually. Now here are the other, let me show you the other scrappy blocks again. So all together now for them. And then we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to put the moonstone ones up on the wall. So here are the scrappy ones. Ta-da! Now one thing I could have done was use red in everything, like pull it in as an accent, like over here these could have all been red, this could have been red, like keeping it, you know, really similar. That would be an interesting way to tie a lot of this together, would be to pull a lot of red, like here, put red here. That's the kind of thing I look at afterwards when I do one of them, like, oh, that's really striking, because it becomes the focus of the block is really the red, not the scraps. And this one's pretty muddy. He's visually really difficult to distinguish what's going on, which is okay. I don't mind it for a block here and there, but I wouldn't want to do all of them like that. And you know, it would be kind of neat to remake this one with red here and see how it goes. And I might do that just to play around. Okay, so the next one I will definitely pull in red for the rest of them. This is 4, so that means 3 of them of the 9, because I'm going to do at least 9 like this, the center 9 for the pattern. And I'll do the rest, so I'll do 5 of them with reds in it. Maybe pull that same red out and just use it up. Okay, well, the other thing I wanted to show you was, what did my stripe look like when I cut the one piece out? So there it is. So I cut that out. So now I have this still for other blocks in the sew along. All right, let's go to the back wall, and let's go to the other wall, the design wall, and I want to talk about the red and white Woodland Wonderland. First, before I put the blocks up on the wall, let's do a mail call. So I had got a wonderful card from Karen in Nebraska. Thank you, Karen. So it is also one of the quilty cards, and this is a Streak of Lightning Quiltscape with a vintage log cabin look to the block, and she wrote such a really wonderful note. Mwah. And then I have from New Brunswick, Canada, from Sandra. She sent me, look, a bunch of salvages all tied up pretty. There's some different colors, or there's the wrong side. There you can see all the different edges. And yes, I do have a plan for these, and sometime in February I will get out all of these that you've been sending and the ones I've been collecting, and then I will show you the block that I'd like to do. And actually what I'd like to do is make up one block and show it to you. I'm not ready to sort of work on this project right now, but I am getting an itch to make one of the blocks. So I will definitely do that. Oh, and cheers. This Starbucks on you. Thank you for all of you that have sent me Starbucks cards. I am totally enjoying them. Let's put these on the wall. I just have, because I'm going to talk to you about the Woodland Wonderland, where I am with this guy. So I just want to see all these up here together. And the middle of our quilt, the blocks will be next to each other. So I will, there we go. So it's a 9, it's like a 9 patch. So these are 9-inch blocks in the middle. It's a 9 patch, and definitely my heart block will go in the center. And then what I'll be doing is sort of balancing out probably lights and darks, because I can already see, of course you can't, sorry about that. I can already see, like I've got 2 darks and a light. So do I want the lights like on the 4 corners so they make sort of a plus sign as a light, or do I want to switch it so the lights are on the outside? Well, I said corner, but this is really the corner. The corners are, you know, so I could do 3 more which would be lights, and then 3 more which would be darks, and set it like that, which I think I like that method, putting the lights in the corners. All right, what did I do with the Woodland Wonderland? I have this all sewn. I have this piece sewn here, and the mushrooms sewn down here. And then what happened was, last night I got to the point where I had to measure, because I can't trim off. I made this so that the mushrooms and the gnome were around the bottom, right on the bottom, and then I made it so the owl was also right at the top, which is not the most forgiving for this method. If I were to think through it again, and I did, I actually thought through it. I thought, ooh, I could just make the owl so that it's down a little bit, because I definitely want the mushrooms and the gnome on the bottom. But if I shifted the owl so it was down a little bit, then I could make my last strip a little oversized and then just trim it off. And I wouldn't have to measure so accurately. But then I thought, well, I really like the way it balanced with him right up at the top. So I had to make more work for myself. So I did figure out the strip, and I cut it last night, and I put it up there, and I thought, that is just too big. It is too big. I know it's too big. So I must be too tired. It was probably 10 o'clock at night when I was doing that. I'm like, I'm just too tired to do the math correctly. So I will do it in the morning. So in the morning I recalculated, and yes, the strip was too wide. And now I have the correct width strip that I will put in here and then sew these two together. After that, I will look at whether I can get the whole border, which will only probably be about an inch wide. I really like to get the border and the binding, which will be single binding, so that means only an inch and a half for the border, an inch and a half for the binding, all the way around from this strip and this strip. I only have 2 strips. Now it's not real big, so I'm hoping that works out. There's 2 of these, so I don't know. I have a feeling that it might be a little too tight, and I'll have to go to my other piece. Now this one is longer, so he is longer. So I'm going to measure that out, because this will be so tight. There will probably be a few seams to make it work. But if that's okay, I'm okay if that works. That way, and I use it up. I'm also going to just go root around in my bin and see if there might be another piece in there, because it might have gotten separated. So if there's a third piece, then I think I'm pretty good. Otherwise, I have plenty of that other option. Okay, I went and had an update with my surgeon on my nose. So I'm going to pop a picture up here. So for those of you who might be super new, like since Thanksgiving, because if you were here just in the past couple of weeks, you may not realize, but I had basal cell carcinoma, which is a type of skin cancer on my nose, and they cut a hole out of the side of my nose to remove it using Mohs surgery, which is amazing. And then the same day, which was very good, so I had morning surgery, afternoon surgery, the plastic surgeon basically took a sort of paisley shaped chunk of my cheek, cut it and pulled it over, you know, kind of like a sock. You know, socks are stretchy, so it'd be like if you had to pull it over and then stitch it back down, which were, you know, probably 60 stitches or so underneath and on top to hold this all down. So now I'm pretty much released. Yay! It is still swollen. It is not what it will be eventually. He said probably in several more months until this level of swelling goes down, and then 1 year, which would be just before Thanksgiving of this year. That'll be my 1 year anniversary of this. It will be probably done all of its healing. It's still red. I go into a sort of a cleaning process over the scar tissue over the next month. And then after that, I just treat it normally, but stay out of the sun. So his big deal is the SPF 50 hats. And so I have 3 of them now. One of them I don't care for at all. So I'm probably just going to put it in the car as a backup because it's just too big, and it has a weird cord inside to tighten it, and the cord's really thick, and it's just dumb. So I will stick that one in the car as, you know, as a backup. This one I love, and it's a brand, I'll link it down below, but the brand is Coolabar. But I think I might get another one of these because it's a little bit more reasonable than the great big fun floppy hat I have. This one I can wear in the winter and just pull my winter coat up over it. So, okay, my friend, you are going to make chocolate chip cookies. Make them, eat them, pass them on to friends. Make your block today. So, sweet dreams. I love you. Mwah. See you online.